Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, good morning, and we have an exciting week, exciting show for us today. I've got in studio with me my good friend Nick Brunnworth with St. Louis Bank. How are you, Nick?
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful.
Good to have you in studio.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We've been talking about getting you in here for a while, so this is neat. So,
yeah, finally.
So I have known Nick for quite some time. Our kiddos are very good friends, and so Nick is a wonderful commercial banker for St. Louis Bank. And Nick, tell me a little bit about what is commercial banking for our listeners out there.
Yeah, no, commercial banking is essentially working with small business owners. Yep. It can vary in size depending on their revenue, but you're building a relationship with a person that started a business often and has grown that business over the years.
Sure.
You're helping them scale their business up. You're helping them, give them the tools that they need from a banking perspective to hopefully focus solely on their operations. And
most business people do not think about banking needs when you want to start up a business, do you?
And that's why I always tell customers, I'm like, look, your focus should be on operations. When you need something, you call me. Don't call the different departments in my bank. And
absolutely.
You call me, and I'll take care of it from there.
Well, it's crazy because when we start up our own businesses, we think about what it means and what the last thing that comes to mind is, oh, I need a loan, or I need capital, or I need to figure out where to put my money, or deposit this and figure out how to collect things, right? All this different stuff.
Ideally, and you know this well, when you have a business, you usually have your CPA, you have your attorney, you have someone like yourself in wealth management. You also have a banker. Unfortunately, most of the time, I'm the one that finds out about everything at the last minute. Hey, can we get this done in a week?
Well, yeah, because it's cash, right? Yeah. Cash is king. Absolutely. So Nick, obviously, you see a lot of entrepreneurs in what you do for work, but you also have quite a few entrepreneurs in your family as well. So raising a few in your household.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know how I got that started, but I've been very blessed with with children that have just this entrepreneur bug in them.
Yeah.
And, they told me a long time ago, they're like, look, Dad, if I'm going to do something and put all my blood, sweat, and tears into something, I want it to be my own. And I understand that. I get sense. That. Unfortunately, I'm not in that boat. So,
well, I think you get to see it in helping others, right? And I think you've got some good autonomy because there's probably a little bit of a difference working for a commercial bank. And I'm going to say something that you might. It's going to take in this context. It'll be a good thing. A small bank.
Yep.
Right. I mean, because banks are massive,
there's
right? So when I say
variety.
small bank, that's not, you guys aren't a small bank.
No.
But it's that small community feel that I think makes what you do very different.
You're exactly right. I've worked in 28 plus years in banking / finance industries. And, I worked for some large banks. I've worked for a community bank. And I think what fits me best in my skill set is working for a community bank because, ultimately, we don't have control over everything, but I try to make it as easy as possible for my customer and give them a real personal feel when we do banking together.
Yeah.
They text me, they call me on the weekends. That's fine. That's when they want the question answered. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about the large banks, but I've had numerous situations where, I've got a customer that calls me about a very unique circumstance. Instead of emailing to someone on the West Coast or East Coast, I say, well, give me 10 minutes. I walk upstairs and I talk to the specific person who makes that decision and say, hey, my customer's in a bind. I need a little bit of help here. Tell me how we navigate this. And that's why I truly enjoy working for a community bank.
Well, and you're the point person. You're the quarterback, right? And that's huge, and that adds a lot of value to folks because in my industry, it's dominated by a lot of big brokerage houses, right?
Exactly.
And I always say, you get that. There's always that next man up, if you will, that next person in line. So and so moves on, that next person, and it's you get that same cookie cutter type of feel. And I think individuals need a little bit of customization and that personal attention.
And I think it takes a lot of different businesses to make this world go around. But I think you and I are both in the same boat that, when it comes to our own personal dealings, whether it's your mechanic or whether it's a plumber or whatever, you like that touch where, hey, I can get a hold of this person. Right. They'll answer me back within a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
And, I know what the price is going to be. I know what to expect. So I use that same methodology with my own personal life.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes complete sense. So commercial banking, obviously relationship focused, clearly, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about, especially when you're working with business owners, small business owners, but there's also personal aspects to this as well. So do you handle a lot of the personal sides of things as well for the individuals?
Great question. When you're talking about small business owners, they're basically intertwined. And I had a customer a long time ago that said, well, what do you need to know about my personal life? Look, when you're a sole business owner,
that's right.
It's everything is intertwined, Yep. So, we ask some questions on the personal side. I'm not going to ask anything that isn't, prudent to what we're talking about.
Sure.
And ultimately getting, taken care of you. But definitely, they're very intertwined.
Well, as a business owner myself, I mean, I do this, but it's to support my family, and quite frankly, I work and I enjoy what I do. So I get to have flexibility to, if today's a Saturday, well, maybe Wednesday can be a Saturday for me. But that sometimes means my Sunday is a Monday. That just happens, and that's okay. There's pros and cons to that small business environment, and that's you got to take that, and the flexibility is great, but it does mean there's some intertwining going on, of course.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure you keep your funds separate. That's very important, or else you get into a lot of trouble. So we make sure we do that for people, and I'm sure you do as well.
For sure.
Folks, make sure when you're talking about banking and financial records, keep those things separate. Yes. That is a big deal. Keep your financial records separate. Even though for loan perspectives, you might have to qualify based on personal assets, you still want to make sure there's a differentiation there. You got to have good record keeping, and that's why it's very important from that perspective.
And take it a step further, when you start talking about business and personal assets, at some point you're going to want out of that game, and that's obviously
business succession planning. Yeah. So, and it's never too early to start that conversation.
Yeah.
It's never too late either, technically, but you want to do that when you have that end in mind, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of businesses don't see that second, third generation. I mean, the statistics are terrible. Mm-hmm. So it's important if we want to keep that within the family, we want to make sure we plan for that succession plan in advance, right? Oh, yeah. It's so important to think about those kinds of things. But not everyone does. No. And if you don't, that's okay. You start having that conversation today, and we see what we can do to make it more efficient. So, all right. So let's just say that I wanted to start a business, or I want to grow my business. What kinds of things would you need to help somebody figure out what makes sense for them?
Yeah, so working on the commercial banking side, I primarily delve on the conventional loans and things of that nature, but most of the time, we've got a business owner that has had a couple years worth of experience.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask, hey, can you provide me a couple years worth of financial statements?
Sure.
Both on the business side and on, like we said, it's intertwined on the personal side. So
like tax returns would be your personal side, right?
Yep.
And then your business side would probably be some type of a P&L or an income statement.
Exactly.
Right?
P&L, balance sheet, and then they might have business tax returns. It might be a separate file return.
Depends on your type of your entity.
But we would grab that, and then it kind of depends on, ultimately what's going on. What is their income producing unit? Mm-hmm. If it's an investment property or if it's like a business operational type of thing, it all depends. So I most of the time, I don't have a set list of questions when I go meet with someone. Yeah. It's kind of like what we're doing right now. I get to know the person.
Yeah.
And then immediately from there, I'm going to start asking questions based on, I'm not trying to pry, but I'm trying to better understand, what you're doing, where you've been, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And that's how my questions are based. I thought when I went into this world, this career, I thought, someone just give me a list of questions and I can ask that.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. No, it's funny.
But it's good. It's good in some respects too.
Every day is different. Every conversation is different.
Exactly.
That's why I love what I do as well. You get the added little, there's always a twist.
Yes.
Right? I
Yes.
have my 5 or 6 kind of general what I think I need to cover. Sometimes I don't cover them all.
Yep.
Sometimes I dive deeper.
Yep.
Right? It just kind of depends.
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. Welcome to 2025. And the interesting thing, as we turn the page into 2025, the government is not done with 2024. We're going to start getting all these wonderful pieces of mail, W-2s, 1099s, 1099 divs, and all these other pieces of information that they want us to utilize in order to tell them the piece of money that we get to share with our partner in the IRS. That's right, the partner in the IRS that we really don't want to have, and that is the partnership we have with the U.S. government. We want to make sure we can cut the cord with the IRS, take some control of our tax situation, and that is a focus of our upcoming workshop, Tax Freedom in Retirement. There are 2 nights to choose from over at Stone Summit in Wentzville, January the 30th or February the 4th. You can get more information on our website, SerenityWealthNow.com. Just go to the events page, SerenityWealthNow.com. Cut the cord with the IRS and take some freedom in your tax situation. We'll see you there soon.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli. You're listening to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper on 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalk STL.
All right, so the enjoyment that you get from working with business owners is you do get to see some of that personal attention, that personal life, what makes people tick. And I think that's what's so engaging and so fun when you get to work with those business owners. Because it is all intertwined.
Yeah, I mean, I've got numerous stories where, folks just started with nothing and now they're running multi-million-dollar companies. It's just neat, to work with them and see what, how they got started and how this has progressed. And having that relationship and kind of understanding them all along.
Yeah. Now, most of the people you run into, their monies and their assets are tied into their business, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think is also very unique about business owners is assets are really tied into the business.
It is. And sometimes to too heavy of a degree, where, and not always, but, there are some that have invested in themselves for the right reasons. Right. They say, hey, look, if I'm going to put something... If I'm going to invest in something, I'm going to invest in myself.
Which I can
control. I've got.
You're the CEO. You're not. I don't care who it is. There's a lot of successful companies out there: Apple, Google, Microsoft, Meta Bookface. Right? I say Bookface. I don't know why. It's a thing. I started it early on. I can't get rid of it now. I say Bookface. It's kind of fun.
I never got on Facebook.
Yeah, good for you. Is that what it's called? Facebook?
No,
that sounds weird when I hear that.
I'm one of those weirdos, though. Occasionally, I'll click on my wife's one just to make sure that I'm in tune with the world.
She shares her password?
Well, she did a long time ago.
Nice.
But no,
she's not going to listen to this. I hope.
No,
but she does listen though. So yes, you're in trouble. Sorry, Danielle.
Yeah. No, but back what you were saying is, and that's kind of what brings you into into many these conversations with business owners is the fact that these folks have invested in themselves. Yeah. But then what does that exit strategy look like?
You gotta have an exit strategy or a succession strategy. Right?
Yep.
I love businesses that can stay around to that next transition. Yep. Right? Whether it's your kiddos and they want to take on that next step, whether it's an employee that you want to, buy that business from you, that is wonderful. And it can produce residual income into retirement. That could be great. But it could be that, it's just time for me to move on, exit out, and figure out how to, do an appraisal, what that next step looks like. And, and you mentioned diversification. It's tough to diversify your assets. And that's tough for anybody, but if you save in a 401k and those kind of things, the investment diversification, we think about it a little bit differently. Yep. So it's important to have those same kind of thought processes on the business world. But we also, it's nice to be tangible, to be in control. And that's what I think is, and that's when I know I'm the same way. I'd rather invest in my own business, quite frankly. So I get it.
Couldn't agree with you more.
But hey, that's okay. There's that's why I like to focus on taxation too. There's a lot of taxation things we can focus on too. So, all right. So business banking, or I say business banking because you work with so many business owners.
Sure.
But
Business banking, commercial banking is pretty much intertwined.
Which is really relationship focused.
Yep.
That's really what it's
very
all
much
about.
so.
All right. So you run into a lot of companies at all different types, right? Right off the street, starting something up, or do you work with most people that are like, no, we've been doing this for a while and here's what we need?
Yeah, no, it's a wide variety, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some folks that are just starting out, or some folks that have been in it for a long time. They just haven't had the personal one-on-one attention that they feel they deserve.
Sure.
And so they're looking for something different. It really can vary, and we have a lot of resources at our fingertips to help them through, basically from the very beginning to maturity.
Yeah.
When they're ready to sell. So, yeah, no, that never gets old. I like working with a wide range of not only in revenue size, but employee number or industry.
Right.
You know, it's so different. It's not cookie cutter.
Yeah.
You know, when I used to work many years ago, when I first started on the consumer side, it dictated pretty much exactly what everything's going to be. You know? And
the business is dictated that way too, because the clients they're not, every individual is unique, of course, but your solution is basically a checking account, right? It's not, you're not solving a problem like you are today. Right? So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. And I've always said that, banking is kind of like a commodity. You got to have it. You're going to need it at some point. Yeah. But that when you have unique circumstances or one-off situations or personal attention that's needed, that's when you really appreciate the commercial banking side. Banking, having a checking account, we offer the same products as other banks, but I think where the difference lies is how you're serviced
and the strategic part of it as well. So, all right. So you talked a little bit about the importance of that relationship and that, that intertwined nature of personal and business. So, Nick, obviously you love what you do. What do you like to do in your spare time? What do you do for enjoyment? I know we get to do. We both have a shared passion for music.
Yes,
so that's part of it.
Yes. No, I love watching live bands, just like yourself. I love spending time with family, of course, but really enjoy outdoor time.
Okay,
hunting, fishing, just being out there with nature. Just absolutely love it. The older I get, the more I love it. I could be out there by myself and have no problem with that.
Well, and I know you spend a lot of time out on the property that you have in Missouri too.
It's nothing big, but it's just something to get away from things and ultimately may spend some time out there in retirement. Who knows what that plan is, but I really enjoy fishing and hunting and spending time with family. Going to concerts. My wife and I, we love listening to local bands and even kind of starting to delve in that a little bit myself.
I know, that's exciting. So, and you also, I know I'm going to get put out to shame here because you're going to be a singer.
Well, we'll see. The hardest part, Chris, is you sing along with the radio, and it just seems so easy, and I enjoy it. But when the spotlight's just on you and there's no backup vocals, and you got to know the timing and everything, it's a little different story. But I'm catching on. It was just something that came up of late when I was at a holiday family party, and for starters, family members there was one particular individual who was really good on the piano. Started laying down some tracks, and I was like, oh, I know that song. So I started singing along with it. My brother-in-law comes up to me, and he's like, you actually got a voice. And I said, well, I did sing when I was younger, but I got enough to hold my own. Yeah. So then we go to another family party later on in the holidays, and just so happens that one of my wife's cousin's husbands is starting a band. They had been in a band before.
Things happen for a reason.
Yeah, it was crazy. And he's like, hey, can you make it? And I said, I don't know. He goes, how about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning? And I was like, whoa.
Well, sometimes you just got to rip it off and see what happens, right?
Yeah. So it's been fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, maybe there's a record deal, in your future. Remember, you heard it first right here.
Slow down there.
That's exciting, though. Yeah. It's fun.
No,
it's fun. That's what's neat, is being able to enjoy your life and all those things too. So
I'm having my midlife crisis.
Well, we all we have those things. That's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah, nothing to be ashamed of at all.
No, it's something interesting that as we're sitting here. What brings people together is often, I find, interesting because our sons grew up together.
Yeah.
Became good friends. And just like a lot of adults, you basically start to hang out with your kids'
Very true.
friends' parents.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we got to meet each other. And it just kind of goes from there. You meet people that are like-minded and people you enjoy being around.
It's the best type of networking, quite frankly, right? Because when you go to the groups of the networking things, it's not the same. It's just not.
Yeah.
And so, and that's, it's businesses. It's the same thing. When you work with business owners, you migrate towards like-minded type of individuals that have similar interests or something connected, because personal lives do tend to intertwine. Right? And that's not just for business owners. That's for individuals as well.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of events here, and you've been to a few of them, I know. And it's amazing. There's always connectivity. People will, I didn't know you worked with Chris too. And like next thing I know, there's a whole group of people that used to live in Florissant together or something. I'm like, how is this possible? It's the weirdest thing. But it happens every
single time. They say St. Louis is a big place, but it's a small place at the same time.
It is, right? Yeah. And that's where, and it's relationships. And I think that's something that I know I focus on, and I think that's what you focus on big time as well.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. And plus we can keep our kids accountable. I can say, hey, look, I know where you're going, and I know Chris.
Yeah.
So
not going to let them get away with that. It's crap, right? So absolutely. Well, cool. All right. So business owners needing to get into figuring out what you help basically with lending, but also just day-to-day management as well.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's both.
Anything you can think of on the banking side, we pretty much scoop to nuts. But usually it starts with just like what we're doing.
Yeah.
You sit down and just a conversation. Tell me what you like, what you dislike. Maybe it's an existing bank that you're working with now, or maybe you're just getting started. So we just kind of start with that initial conversation and take it from there. And there's no, pressure to, hey, I got to bring my financials. I got to do all this right away.
Well, you don't need them in that first thing, because you got to make sure you can be of service.
Or
that's what I tell people. People always ask me that when I meet with somebody for the first time. They're like, "Hey, Chris, what do I need to bring?" I'm like, well, bring yourself.
Yeah.
If you can bring your wife, great.
Yeah.
I love to talk to spouses. And then a little bit of a financial questionnaire. But let's have a conversation.
Yep.
That's what's most important.
No, I agree. Yeah. It starts from there and then just takes off.
Yeah. It's and like you mentioned, it's so fun seeing how it all kind of wraps in. I'm sure you've got so many fun success stories of businesses that you've seen start that have just grown, and how you've been able to be a part of that. And that's got to be kind of rewarding too, just like seeing your own child grow up a little bit.
It's amazing. So it is. It really is. It's just like watching this from cradle to whatever,
and all those connections that become part of it too.
For sure,
pretty neat.
For sure.
So.
But yeah, as far as a checklist, I don't really say, hey, bring all this in. I just say, hey, let's just meet.
Yeah.
And let me have a better understanding of where you're at, where you're going, what you like, what you dislike about, maybe about your current situation, and let's take it from there.
Well, that makes sense. And that aligns so well with what I do here. So, Nick, thanks for coming in, being a part of the radio show today. Always a pleasure being able to hang out with you and being in studio. And now we're live streaming as well. So
likewise.
It's pretty neat.
I really enjoyed this, Chris. Thank you. You got a nice setup here.
Thank you very much, bud. All right. So that's what it's all about, making sure you get connected, have those relationships, ask important questions, and don't be afraid to let people in, to understand what's important to you, what's important, what your goals are, and make sure you use those resources and that experience that people have to make sure you get that financial serenity you deserve.
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. Welcome to 2025. And the interesting thing, as we turn the page into 2025, the government is not done with 2024. We're going to start getting all these wonderful pieces of mail, W-2s, 1099s, 1099 divs, and all these other pieces of information that they want us to utilize in order to tell them the piece of money that we get to share with our partner in the IRS. That's right, the partner in the IRS that we really don't want to have, and that is the partnership we have with the U.S. government. We want to make sure we can cut the cord with the IRS, take some control of our tax situation, and that is a focus of our upcoming workshop, Tax Freedom in Retirement. There are 2 nights to choose from over at Stone Summit in Wentzville, January the 30th or February the 4th. You can get more information on our website, SerenityWealthNow.com. Just go to the events page, SerenityWealthNow.com. Cut the cord with the IRS and take some freedom in your tax situation. We'll see you there soon.